Hi there. Welcome back to Tuesday's Tips. I'm Greg Kaiser, and this week we're back into Lightroom and doing some more work on some local edits. We're actually coming to the end of that. If you haven't seen all of them, or if you're new to the channel, don't forget to check out the videos in history. We went through global edits on lots of different kinds of pictures and how to go about doing that. Then we moved into local stuff. We've been going through each one of the tools and just kind of giving you a cursory overview of what these tools can do for you. I've kind of left a couple of not difficult tools, but one that are more specifically used than others. I've left those towards the end, and as it turns out, I did a shoot yesterday with my daughter and her boyfriend, which was an interesting shoot. They wanted the bad JCPenney looking pictures, so that was kind of difficult for me to work around, but we had a lot of fun with it. And there's a couple of pictures that I like, and there's a bunch that they were just being goofy and they like, and still working through those. But something that I noticed, I actually had an opportunity to go in and do one of the local masks with these images. So I picked one a few minutes ago that I thought would work well, and I want to go ahead and move into Lightroom, and we're going to check this out. So my screen should be up on yours right now. I've already done a basic global edit on this one, so this is where we're at, and just full disclosure, I am still in the editing process, so we're going to go through and do quick edits on everything. Then I'll come back through and do some fine-tuning work. But this one worked, I think, well for doing some local edit work on, especially for what we are wanting to deal with this week. So as we go up here underneath the histogram, as always, we've got this masking tool, which looks like the disc here. Click that, and this is the first screen that comes up, and you'll notice we've covered through all of these: subject, sky, background, objects. We're still going to work with brush. We've done linear gradient, radial gradient. We've done the range masks. Down here at the bottom, it is detecting people. And I will apologize. The computer's probably going to be a little slow during this process, just simply because I've got 235 pictures loaded in at this point off of a standalone hard drive, so it is going to take a little bit of time. But once it detects the people the first time, it's usually pretty quick. So here we've got the people that are available, and this is why I wanted to use this, because rarely do I do a photo shoot with more than just one person. So we've got the option of doing all people, which is kind of like the subject mask, and that's a real quick one, and you can see here by what's highlighted in green what is included. We can also break it down, and this is where it becomes very useful. We have person one, and we'll notice that Lightroom has been able to isolate not only Sierra there on the left, but her arm, which is not necessarily attached from the computer's point of view, but it figured out what belonged to what. Person two did a good job here. There's a little bit, if you'll notice right here on Sierra's arm, where it kind of gives credit to AJ for having that arm there. There are some exceptions, and we've gone in and done some brush tool work to fine-tune these masks, so that's going to be useful here. But let's look at what can be done. So we're going to do person one, and it's going to detect the person features. And this is another one of those things. It's going to break this person down into bits and pieces. So we have a laundry list here. We have facial skin, we have body skin, we have eyebrows, eye sclera, which is the white part of the eyes, iris and pupil, which I won't be doing a whole lot with here because both of these subjects do actually have very dark brown eyes. There's not a lot that I can do there. And in this picture, they're not really facing the camera, so that's fine. But we can go in, we can do lips, and it's actually getting both of the subjects here. So that's something that we can easily fix. It's having a hard time with the profiles here for some reason, and it's just one of those. Sometimes you do have to go in and alter the masks, but it can identify the teeth and hair. Now it's back to just Sierra. So we're going to start off with the hair. So we're going to click that. But we can also do facial hair, which there is no facial hair on Sierra, a little bit on AJ. But we can do clothes. We're going to come back to that shortly. But we've got hair checked, and we're going to create a mask. And it's going to come up, and it has just selected the hair. Now, something that I do typically like to do with my subjects is give a little bit of boost of exposure to the hair. Bring the shadows up just a little bit if they are dark-haired. If they have lighter hair, I might bring the highlights up instead. But I'll come down here and bring a little bit of clarity into the hair also, just to give it that little bit of punch. And as always, you can go up here and hit the little eyeball, and you can see the before, and you can see the after. And that gives it the punch that I'm looking for. So we'll name this Sierra's hair. And it's hard to type when people are looking, so stop looking when I type. So like I said, we're going to come back, we're going to do another one. We're going to create new mask. This time we have this familiar panel that comes up. We do select people, and it's going to pop up here, detect people. See how quick that was that time. Person 1, and I want to come down here to close. Create a mask. And I want to bring the shadows up because this is a dark dress, and I want to bring that color in. So I'm going to boost the shadows just a little bit, boost the exposure just a tad, just so it shows up a little bit more. Okay, so we can hit the eyeball, see before, see after. Like with all edits, subtlety is key. So we're going to do this. We can just do that as dress because I don't think AJ is wearing a dress. So that's no problem there. And again, I just label these so I can go back and quickly identify what I'm looking at, because looking at the little box here, this looks more like a squirrel and not a dress, and this is a blob. So it allows me a quick identification of what layers I'm working with or what masks. So let's do a new mask. And we're going to do a blending of masks, because if you will see here on Sierra, the way the lighting hit, we've got good exposure here, but her arm is a little on the dark side. So I want to match that exposure. So we're going to select people. We're going to come down here and we are going to get person 1. And then we're going to do body skin. So we're going to create a mask. And if you'll notice, it did just like what I told it to do, body skin. But I don't need to adjust exposure here or here. So the easiest way of doing that or removing that is going to be subtract, brush tool. My B brush is at 100% flow. My A brush is a 30%, so I can build up gradually. But for this, I want 100% because I need to remove. So we're going to go in here, make the brush big enough, and we're just going to paint over this area and basically erase everything where I don't want that effect to be. So now we've just got this arm down here. Oh, and a little bit behind her ear. There we go. Okay. So now we've got that. Let's bring the exposure up just a little bit. We're not necessarily changing what the light is doing here, but we want to make sure that the arm looks like it belongs to Sierra. And as you see, as we're bringing it up, do something maybe about like that. And maybe pull the saturation down just a smidge. There we go. Okay, so we're going to do this one as Sierra arm. And I still am not really liking the balance here, so we're going to go in, do a new mask, select people. Same kind of deal. We're going to hit person 1 here. We're going to do body skin. Create a mask. And we are going to subtract with a brush this arm here. And I'm going to go ahead and get the hand and stuff gone here. So we're just basically looking at this, and I want to bring the exposure down just a smidge. There we go. Okay. Now, with those two masks dealing with body skin on person 1 here, we have now blended the skin tones. I've still got the highlight on the face that I want, so we're going to do Sierra Skin, so that way I know what it is. And right now, we've got 4 of these. We've done the hair, we've worked the dress, we've blended the exposures here, and we can go up and take this main eyeball next to masks, and you see how we've managed to get everything just a little bit more even on her, and it's very easy to do with this select person mask. Now we're going to do a new mask, same thing with AJ, at least with the hair. So we're going to do person 2. And we're going to come down this list of features here. And it takes it a minute because it's the first time we've done the features on him. We're going to do hair, create mask. As you see, we can do the beard. Okay, so we're going to bring the exposure up just a little. See about where we want it there. 2/10 of a stop has worked for him in the past. Bring the shadows up somewhere in the teens. And then when we bring the clarity in, that's adding contrast back in, so it will bring the highlights up a little bit and bring the shadows down just a tad. And we can look at that and see if that's kind of what we're looking for. And we might want to bring the exposure down just a little bit. There we go. So eyeball, that's where we started. That's where we're at. Just gives a little bit of presence to the hair. So AJ hair. Okay, so let's say we want to give a little bit of saturation to the lips here. Create new mask, people, and we are going to do person 1, and it's going to go back, do the features, and let's do lips. And as we noticed before, for whatever reason, Lightroom is trying to make both of their lips be the same person 1. But we're going to create that mask, and we are going to subtract a brush, and there, that took his lips out of the equation. So now we can go in and boost the saturation just a little bit. Now if we want to go real crazy, we can zoom in just so you can see the effect. Okay, there we go. Hopefully the audio stayed with that, nothing froze and did weird stuff. Again, it's a very old computer and it is being taxed doing video and editing on 50 megapixel images. But we've increased the saturation, but we can go down to this little letterbox by color and we can start poking around in the reds, and we can change what kind of lipstick she has. And this is one way of doing it, but I'm not going to do it this way, so we're going to go back to the original color. We can go up and we can do the hue, and we can change the color that way. But again, that's not what I want to do, so we're going to double click that. If we come down to the tone curve and then select the red color channel, we add red in, do something like that. There we go, zoom out. And the trick to zooming in and out doing these local edits is to do the edits zoomed in so you can see what you're doing, but then zoom out and see if the effect is working in the overall image. So we can take the eyeball, and you can see without the adjustment, with the adjustment, without the adjustment, with the adjustment. Just gives a little bit more presence to the lips, but I think it might be a little overboard. So I'm going to pull that back just a little bit. And I think that right there looks good. Let's see, without and with. So there we go. Okay, so let's say we want to bring the blue in AJ's shirt closer to her dress. So we're going to select people. We're going to do another consolidation of masks. We're going to do person 2. We're going to go down and select close. Okay, create the mask. And then I want to click up here and I want to hover over add subtract, hit Alt or Option if you have a Mac, and do intersect. And we're going to do color range. Take the little medicine dropper and put it on the blue. And you see we've now got the majority of just the letters. But the green sweatshirt is also involved, so we can refine this by pulling back. And there we go. Now we've just got the text here. So we can go in, let's see, just move it over and cool it just a little bit. And let's bring the exposure down. Let's go back to the channel here. We're going to do the blue channel in the tone curve. And we're going to add some blue. Okay, so that's getting the intensity that I want. Pull the exposure down just a little bit more. And let's see where we're at. Very washed out to begin with. Now we've added some blue in and darkened it. And I think that works really well. So we're going to say that, let's see, lettering. And obviously these are young folks here, so what I'm getting ready to do is not really applicable, but I want to demonstrate something that I do on a good many of my photos. And when it comes to skin softening and things like that, I don't do frequency separation. I don't go and do Photoshop actions or anything like that. What I found that works really well for me is to go in and do a mask here, and there's even a really quick way of doing it. And I just want to demonstrate, again, this is not appropriate for this one because their skin is still very, very new. So it's not got the wrinkles, it doesn't have the textures, so it's not like my skin. My skin needs a little bit of softening. Not much, but a little bit. And I don't believe in over softening anything. But we do facial skin. And there we go, the Incredible Hulk. I can say this, you would not like her when she's angry, and she does kind of have a face like this. But we're going to do a create mask. We're going to get rid of the green. We're going to make her happy again. So we've now created the mask, and we go over here, and if you'll remember from several videos ago, over here next to the preset, hit custom, and down here we've got a whole lot of things that we can just affect on just kind of an automatic adjustment in Lightroom. But we have two different skin softens. We have a skin soften light and a regular skin soften. Me personally, I like skin soften light, and most of the time it's either just right or a little bit overboard, so I'll even dial it back. Skin soften is way too much for me. So we do skin soften light, and what it does is it will come down here and we'll look through. It drops texture, drops clarity. So if we go over, we zoom in on her face, and again, I hope the audio isn't freezing or the video didn't do weird things. But we're going to go in, we're going to check the eyeball here. That's before skin softening, and I think that's fine. I have no problem with that. But if we do skin softening, see how it just kind of gives a glow to the skin? And then if by whatever reason you decide it's too much, in this case I do think it is too much, we can pull this slider back at the top, which basically just adjusts the amount. So we can bring it down to about 50%, and let's see what that does. There's before, there's after. And that's not terribly bad, but I would rather go in and adjust some things with some dodging and burning with some brushes, which that's what I'll end up doing. So I'm going to delete this just so I don't forget and leave it on there. What I'll do is I'll take a brush and we'll go in and we'll just kind of lighten this area just a little bit. That's the main part that I would want to even out. So that kind of shows you what we can do. Every one of these has been done with the select person. There's two people in the frame. We've seen how it will easily tell, okay, this is person one, this is person two. In the situations where it blends the two, and in profile, I guess it did get kind of confused. We can go in, we can easily adjust the mask. And again, with the lettering here, we selected it's closed, we intersected with that color, and we were able to fine tune and get that lettering right there. And as you can see, it's really easy when you go back through. I know that that's his hair, so I don't even have to highlight it. And the different blobs don't tell me a lot, but I can go in and look at the titling here and know what I've done. So we're going to go on back here. Let's see. And I hope that that kind of clears up how to use the people mask. It works for groups of just a single person, 2 people, 5 people. I've actually done family portraits with, I think, 12 people in there, and you can identify each individual person, or in some cases it's just a face that's visible, but it will identify all that, and it does make doing your edits much simpler. When it comes to exposure changes, though, I would still strongly recommend that you do a radial gradient, as we've talked about before, and go back and check out the radial one if you haven't yet. But that gives a more subtle change while still bringing some focal light to the subject. Mainly, this is something that I use for just picking a person apart, dealing with hair, dealing with any skin softening. And if I do skin softening, I will generally do facial skin and body skin all together and just soften it all so that way it still looks uniform throughout. In the situation here, there was no need to do that and lose the detail that was there. I wanted to keep that detail. And that's a style choice. Everybody's going to do things a little bit different, but these are the things that are available. And don't forget that you can add to the mask, subtract from the mask, and intersect. So when you're trying to get very, very specific, like for instance changing the exposure on the arm versus the rest of the body, we were able to manipulate that mask to do what we needed to do. In the case of the lettering, we were able to intersect. So there's a lot of things that can be done. So creativity is only limited by your imagination with these masks. And when it comes to doing portrait work, I do a lot with these people identifying masks. They are getting better and better with each update. So I don't know where it's going to be in 6 months, a year, 5 years. There's going to be a lot of time saving in that. Just remember, do this with intention. Don't just go in and do presets. Don't just go in and say, well, I'm supposed to do skin softening, for instance. Skin softening on my face, it's needed. When I am doing corporate headshots, I do skin softening there just because the entire frame of the picture is the face, and nobody wants to see every little pock mark, every little line. So we'll soften all that out, do a little bit of dodging and burning. We'll talk about dodging and burning in an upcoming video, probably next week, and we might see another um, from this set during that. Not sure, but just do it when it needs to be done, or if the client is requesting it. Don't do it just because you do on every picture. Every picture needs to be edited specifically for that picture, for that subject. So with that in mind, thank you for joining me. Don't forget, like, subscribe if you haven't already. It does help the channel grow. We are growing slowly, but any growth is good, right? So we'll be back here again next week. So join me back then for another Tuesday's Tips. And until then, happy shooting, happy editing, and we'll see you back here then. Bye now.